Okay. I'll figure out if anybody bothers to follow along. Doubtful, but I gotta. Let's see. Okay, I got one wandering in. Let's see. I can find the link to myself here. Yeah. Oh, okay, maybe not. Mm-hmm. The hell is that? There we go. Oops. Yeah. Up. Okay. That'll be the first one. Come on. Register corp. Here we go. Over a bit. Alrighty. Wait for the fun to begin here. And there's the cat. Okay. Go and get yourself situated there. Yes. You're getting very bony back here, cat. I'm not sure that's a good thing. I mean, yes, you need to lose weight, but this is getting disconcerting. All right. Okay, and for the record, coming off of Mary Mayhem's little weekly Shenanigans livecast. So far, I've not yet been honored a chance to get in there, but my connection issues are kind of weird. So, I've been a loyal audience member for a couple weeks now. I'll be throwing a few things on the sidelines that got attention, but one day. Well, frankly, the Shenanigans thing scares me because I'm not really that great at improv, so that's where you gotta shine a bit on that one. And some of the folks in there, especially Rob, and it's like they're good. They've actually had training in improv. I've had a tad. Okay, nothing much. Not pretty extensive. I just like like usually in a class or something else. So let's do a little improv today, and that'll be it. Kitty, yeah, the kitty, kitty. Yeah, well, we can get your burn here. Yes. Yes. Clearly, I'm not in Kingsland, Georgia. This is one of those times where the appeals for citizens didn't quite come through. However, that being said, it's a 3-day event, so it's not too late, folks. We still got to get this up to Georgia. So it'll just be miss a day or two. And I guess in this case, they can save on hotel money. So just be one night maybe. Worst case scenario, enough gas money to run up there in the morning, do some stuff, come back in the evening. That'll still be about $100 or so, because it's a half a tank each way. I don't want to say die until it's over with. So, anybody got any questions? We're just gonna sit and watch me pet the cat for a while. The cat is sitting right off camera. Open the bed. Yay. Hey, watch it. Don't get carried away here. That's good. Let's get you on camera for a bit here, kitty. Come here. Come on. Here we go. There, see? Here's the kitty. And that was kitty. Oh, come on. The addition of a grumpy cat now? Alright. Oh, alright, fine, be that way. Not a cuddle cat. We try, but he doesn't want to cuddle. Alright, I think my Picard review is still up technically, but it's demonetized until someone can get a look at the copyright claim or slam or whatever, So, and I got a watermark with Clarstock saying I'm citing the fair use law. Looking forward to it? Not really. Because the creative team in charge are a bunch of idiots. It's still the same morons who did Discovery, and Alex Kurtzman has, shown that he has all the creative urges of a wood tick, so Kiva Goldsman, the same guy who gave us nipples on the bat suit and other strange things. Like, please. And the one thing, Kurtzman has also demonstrated, as far as the network's concerned, he's the ultimate yes man. Yes, whatever you want. But apparently, I don't get the impression he appreciates a lot of dissent in the ranks. So that's probably one of the reasons why you have a whole staff of writers and hardly anybody has any actual experience making Star Trek. Because that way he can shout everybody down and nope, I'm doing this way. This is, I mean, he had the only writer I think with any kind of consistency in there, Joe Minosky. He's got some extensive thing, but he was doing the Sun Voyager a lot, and he's said some rather naughty thing, nasty thing about the fans from time to time, like comparing us to the bugs in the windshield. So that doesn't feel a lot of confidence that he's there. Although he's done some pretty good scripts, for the old day, And Kristen Beyer, but she's a novelist. The two formats don't really necessarily translate one to the other. So the rest of them, the vast bulk of the writers they get don't even have real genre experience. Never mind, no Star Trek experience, just anything in the science fiction genre. There's a rather overabundance of Gilmore Girls, writers on there. I mean, I suppose, no offense to Gilmore Girls fans, but it's not the same show. Okay, single mother and her daughter is not the same as discussing moral issues, on a 23rd century starship. So I recommend stopping by. It's a fun time to be had by all. Although, be warned, it is not for delicate sensibilities or anybody with an over fascination. Okay. So as far as CBS is concerned, it was a free season. They could, second season, no. They, because the numbers were not there for as much as they were paying. As main thing, everything's kind of relative to how much that, how much the show costs and how much you get back in return ratings wise. Because like Battlestar, the original Battlestar Galactica, really didn't do that bad in the ratings. It was like top 20, top 25 show. But the fact that it cost $1 million an episode back when $1 million an episode was a major number, late 70s, that was major money back then. That needed to be at least a top 10 show to make it to a second season. They were, in that respect, they were lucky to get Galactica 1980. But in retrospect, actually at the times where I said better off they just would have canned it and be done with it. But generally they want, if they're spending a lot for money to the show, they want a major viewership to justify those costs. And Discovery did not do that for Netflix, so they paid drastically less for season 2. And with Picard, I think they know they can read these things as much as we do. They got their own insiders here and there. They listen to the websites and the fan reactions. So, and apparently considering that they still got the same creative team in place, they got the same issues with licensees that nobody wants to. They're looking at the stuff they're presenting and it's like, no, we can't give this crap away. Either change it to something more consistent, or we're not picking up the license for this stuff. And Netflix said, that's it, we're out. And so find someone else to peddle your crap overseas. We ain't doing it anymore. And then Amazon apparently came in, and probably considerably less than what Discovery, Netflix was being asked to pay up. And also indications that Amazon might not be a completely done deal either, because supposedly they're not happy with what they're seeing. And this merger cannot happen fast enough, because someone has got to just get these people out of positions of power with this franchise, and somehow get rid of Kurtzman and his contract, because I think it's the only thing keeping around. It's like this 5-year contract he signed to develop shows for CBS. I think hopefully that contract doesn't necessarily transfer over to a new remerged, CBS Viacom conglomerate type thing. Or they find the clause, because no sane network executive gets a contract like this in place without an out for the studio and the network. Well, yeah, it sounded like they may have already messed up with Amazon. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, because apparently Bezos is not happy with what's being presented, I guess. So they're already trying to get out of it. And this is where entertainment lawyers earn the big bucks, by doing these contracts that have an out somewhere in there that the other side doesn't necessarily see. So. I'm betting this might lead in a roundabout way for Netflix or for Amazon, to get the Tick back, because the producers of the Tick are trying to shop that show around and get a support going for getting renewed somewhere. You never know. They may just turn around. Yeah, about that cancellation. Never mind. You're back. Because this Star Trek thing's not working out. So we need to. I mean, yeah, this is only overseas too. If you're one of the guys overseas, this is where you saw it, either Netflix or now on Amazon. Great, fine, whatever. But domestically, it's still CBS All Access. And I still say, and hopefully this will. I say this out there into the ether and the internet, and hopefully it'll filter its way back to whoever can make a difference in this. You want to win back the fans, and in the words of some exec, possibly Moonves himself, unfuck this mess. Can Kurtzman and his idiots get rid of every show that they've proposed and developed? I don't care if you're already running cameras. Can it? Cancel it now. If you got a contract with Patrick Stewart, fine. Do something with Patrick Stewart and bring in writers and know what the hell they're doing. But basic in the short term, green light a 5th season of Enterprise. Work around Bakula's, NCIS schedule. Get a 5th season there. Let the show end. At least build to a proper conclusion. Or just, if that turns out to be a big success, then do a 6th and 7th. Get a 6th and 7th season in there, because get it right up to the Romulan War, and then you can think about maybe doing a. Well, the thing is, CBS All Access doesn't have global reach. They're only a domestic network. They don't have the overseas connections. Netflix does, and Amazon does. Captain Foley, welcome aboard. Well, yeah, it's not a matter of the mistake. I mean, CBS is only North America. That's all they've got. They don't have the reach yet. It's a brand new streaming service. They got to build up to it, and so they have to partner up with a streaming service that has that global reach. And Netflix doesn't want to bite, and it's looking like Amazon's trying to get out of it now, because okay, never mind. This isn't what we thought we were getting. It's going. That's all I can say. Not sure where it's going, but it's going. Hopefully, eventually, when this whole thing wraps up on our personal front, we'll be in a place where I can have a proper setup with a proper camera, without wearing this poor phone over here. And it's not looking like, I'm auditioning for Top Gear. So, well, that wouldn't be a bad gig either, though. Kitty. Yeah, that's it. Get some purring going in the background here. Come on. Anyway, we're here to talk things and for people to throw me money. So, on the odd chance that we can maybe salvage the attempt to get up to Kingsland this weekend and get some action going, since, clearly the entire weekend is not going to happen, because I would have to have been up there today. If somebody can throw like a couple $100 at me in the meantime, doesn't have to be one person, it can be spread out. But we can possibly, get up there tomorrow or Sunday. Probably tomorrow. Saturday is always the big thing with a convention type thing. Sundays where things start winding down. And really, I just need enough for full tank of gas, because it's a full tank of gas round trip. Covers 3 hours, and this would assuming the gas situation would be roughly the same as the Buick. Yeah, it'd probably be about a half tank of gas up, half tank of gas back. So I need to fill up. Right? Well, I've got a quarter tank now, so I'd have to fill up first, get up there, and then get back, and that's that's about probably $50 to fill it, and then another $50 to fill it back when I get back. And okay, well. At the start, Also, again, not the besmirch you here, Stuart, but super chats. Unfortunately, they go they go into the thing there, and let me throw something in here. See, let's see, because the whole thing of timeliness is the issue, and the idea is to get up there like tomorrow and now, well, super chats do help in getting the total up and getting, feeding the pot up a bit to get a check next month, because it's been holding like $36, since the apocalypse hit. And between the ad revenue I've gotten since I got remonetized and all the super chats are racked up, there's a good chance I'll get a check next month, which is fine and dandy because I have things to do with this thing. But in the short term, there is the issue. It's like, because so direct to PayPal works best, and plus also AOL doesn't get not AOL, YouTube doesn't get a bite of that. They do take a bite out of the super chats, which is only fair. So, what else to discuss? Okay, apparently when first putting up the Picard review, it got blocked during the premiere. And the same thing happened when I did a reworked version where I did more filters on the footage of the trailer. Yeah, I'm thinking that whatever the bots they're picking up on the audio track, because I totally distorted the image, so something set it off. But I think that it's really kind of rude, frankly. It's in the midst of being in the premiere, it's like, oh, you're already blocked. You haven't even finished the damn video yet. But it is apparently, it's nuts. I know. And the watermark I put over the thing covered the entire screen. The use of this footage is in full compliance with the Fair Use Act of 2007. It covers the entire screen. I had to make it kind of transparent to see the thing. But I was watching Star Wars Girl, and she did essentially the same thing I did. She ran it twice. But she's got it down in the corner. I guess that may be part of it. I can't do that yet. I don't. The editing program I got doesn't. I don't think it allows for that just yet. Now maybe if I paid them the $30 to get registered, maybe. But as it is right now, nope. Again, maybe when our ship finally comes in on this insurance thing, and I can get a real computer with a real editing program and a real studio setup, then I got some fun. Yeah, going okay. If I'm just kind of attempting to piggyback off of Mary Mayhem's Shenanigans show, that's the title. And apparently they all went somewhere else though. So, and also, of course, a little e-begging, which is kind of it's part and parcel with being a YouTuber anyway. I'm just being more blatant about it because it's kind of a timely issue, but there's kind of a little bit of an objective to try and get this channel up to Kingsland for what's left of the Fan Appreciation Weekend. And again, the Friday thing is usually not the big boffo thing. But then also, for all I know, Chris Dewan and Michelle Spector only there Friday. It's like, okay, I can probably corner Vic tomorrow, but they all went back to to LA. But nothing else. At least I can scrounging on gas money to get up there, and some lunch money, and I can borrow a proper camera to get better footage than what I got last time with the phone. You can still make it worthwhile, because I like those sets up there. And Stuart, I don't know, you haven't been down here for the Start to Continue sets. It is a different experience, I can tell you right now. Even though I haven't been to Ticonderoga, I've seen enough footage of it. The ones down in Kingsland are probably a truer representation of the actual setting of what it was like at Desilu. As in, they are rougher. Sometimes the buttons come off the thing. The sets aren't all walled off, and the transporter, there's a big open wall where the camera would be. It's like in person, yeah, it's a little rough, and you pick things up off the parts of the transporter bed just comes off in your hand. But on camera, it looks perfect. So I think it's probably the ugly side, ugly truth of Star Trek production. And I brought that. I mean, Trek Zone picked up. Matt Miller on Trek Zone picked up the statements I was making on the Facebook page because people were griping about that James Cawley ought to sue Vic Mignogna over this whole thing. It's a different experience, and plus it's not open, all year round. It's a tourist attraction, once a year thing. They do once in a while, not even every date. It's randomly type thing. And they come. It's an appreciation thing. It's like, hey, come in, and it's really an advertising thing to show them. Here's what we got for you can use. Provided you're pony up $500 and your script is approved, and there's schedule. You got to pick the dates on the schedule. They're busy sets, and I got a kick out of the fact that the crew, captain, quarters still had because apparently they I guess they filmed that Captain April fan film down there. Was part of it because on the wall of the door still had Robert T. Captain. Hey, my room's ready. So that was a fun thing. But it was like it's this working set with all the slight ugliness that entails a working set. It's not all perfect. It's not a museum piece. The view screens on there are not computer monitors. It's something along the lines of what they had in the original thing. It's just, blinky lights behind plastic. And I don't know how many people know this, but that set up in Kingsland does not actually have a main view screen. When you see that on the episodes, that's a CGI thing. It's literally a green screen up there on the part of the set. So it's an insert later. And it's not completely finished all the way around. There's a gap, over by the view screen where there would be a normal panel. I forget which station it is. And down the bottom and the side, there are no stairs. Not like on the side you see. There's a couple of something out of a couple of steps out of a wood shop, but it's not the same kind of steps thing. Are we locked up there? Can't tell. Okay, it's long. But it's a separate sort of thing, and plus, the likelihood of me getting up to Ticonderoga to pay James his $25 to take his tour are kind of slim right now. Well, it's a very nice town too. It's a smaller town, but it's not ridiculously small. You have the usual amenities there. There's a Walmart. There's a Winn-Dixie. There's plenty of fast food there. I assume there's a theater somewhere near. It's near a major naval base, which is probably one of the reasons why, everything's there. Yeah, there's plenty of historical stuff around there. I guess it was kind of active during the war. This is one of those areas where I can mention the war, and most people will know what war I'm talking about. Well, carry it? No, the Civil War, you Yankee dog. And Kingsland is one of the areas we're looking at relocating to if we, depend on how the money shakes out. I got a lot of, houses bookmarked on Trulia up there. Because my ultimate dream is if we can get in the area, then work out some kind of deal where we'd have access to the sets, and I can maybe do some videos there. Just set up a camera, deal with lights, and just, okay, we're here in the briefing room. Or on the bridge or whatever. We can have some fun with it, Because, there's plenty of, bloggers out there doing Star Trek stuff. How many do it from the bridge of the Enterprise, though? Gotta get a gimmick. It's a very competitive world on this, on this platform. I mean, I could even, do a little model building thing in the briefing room, or on the desk in Kurt's quarters. Yes, Now that's something, if failing getting money for Kingsland, then maybe money for a replacement model for the one I thought I was going to build. Because for those tuning in late, got an old AMT model. And upon further inspection, it turns out a couple of the key pieces were rather badly warped. Specifically, the lower half of the saucer. It's got it's like someone could take a crowbar and bend it while it's still warm. And the hangar deck, then the lower half of the secondary hull, the fantail is kind of bent rather badly. I suppose it'd be possible to fix it if I was able to have access to an air hot gun or hair dryer, be able to warm it up and bend it back into place. Well, unfortunately, I wouldn't be going where no YouTubers are going. There's plenty of people have been on that set and shot stuff there, but I would, I'd want to do it on a regular basis. So that's where being in the area would help. At one point there was a real nice house just within walking distance of the studio. Now, granted, it's kind of some bushes in between there, so it'd be kind of going as a crow flies, going through some weeds and stuff. So I don't think I would necessarily actually walk there if I was, but it's real close. But that house sold. So, but there's plenty of fairly inexpensive houses up there, considering if the money really, really good, then it's back to Denver. And Denver's a problem where it's like trying to avoid HOAs. I hate HOAs, especially when they charge and if they're an HOA that charges fees larger than what your house payment would probably be, it's like that's a scam. Someone's making boat payments on that thing. So. And the thing is, the HOAs are kind of taking over Denver. It's kind of hard trying to find a house up there that hasn't got an HOA fee connected to it. Well, yeah, there are some practical reasons though that it would be probably better to go back to Denver. One, all our stuff is back there for the most part, and a couple of storage units, and it'll be a lot easier to get a house in the area, and then move it out as we need it. Whereas anywhere else, it's probably going to cost up around $2,000 to get a truck and box up, pack it all up and then haul it somewhere. And also, I managed to establish a bit of a relationship. Stop that. With the program director at 995 The Mountain. So it's like the dream of getting a job on the radio DJ is not completely dead. So I like to nurture that one by being in town. And I could probably, and then in the meantime, be able to probably get a gig back at KGNU, the volunteer thing, and so and keep the skills, relevant. And plus, there's, we still got a lot of friends back there, and it'd be nice to be able to, at least, be there for when Starfest rolls around. It'd be nicer to be able to afford to go to Starfest because the tickets they're starting to get into Creation Con territory. We're talking around $100 for the weekend here. It's getting nuts. Now, granted, Creation Cons is like $100 for one day, but so there's still vestiges there. But and I appreciate it's inflation. It's been and karmically, it's like there's been a lot of times I got into that con for free, either winning tickets from somewhere or kind of a labor exchange thing. Because for a time there, one of the guys who worked at Starfest and StarCon before, StarCon Denver before the Starfest came later, and they were doing 2 cons for a while there. Starfest was spring, StarCon in the fall, and then eventually they just merged them into one, and kept it at Starfest. But one of the guys who worked there as their resident IT guy was my next door neighbor in college up at CSU in Colorado State. So that was my in for that for a while. And for coming in early to help set up, the stuff in the main events room, I got tickets, for the con. So that was fun. So there's a certain element of, time to pay back the karma. But since we have been kind of destitute, and of course, certainly since we've been out of the state, but even then, back there, it was like, we can't even afford to go. It's not even an option now. Can't even afford to go. It would have been nice to just go by and visit folks who are out in the hallway, because, we're still friendly with some of the authors, namely Dayton Ward, Kevin Dilmore, Christy Golden, or a few others. Good to swing by and see them. So, like Stuart, if you're still there, it's like I said, it's been a few years since I prowled those hallways. So it would have been fun to be like, hey, okay, let me show you what's going on over here. There goes the cat. We'll see how many of the things they got going on that are still going on, and how much, see what's changed. And there's still the hope eventually that when we really get going on getting the new concordance up and running, then it'll be the time where it's, okay, now you're going to pay me to go to the con? Great. They'll be able to, get up there and do a panel with Bijo and say, okay, here's what the new concordance is going to offer up here. Let's talk about that for you. So far, what's kind of tentatively, in the plans here for was probably going to be the final update of the concordance. Would basically roughly double the number of entries between the episodes and movies, because that's how much has gone by since the last one. And also, there were also a few there that should have been in the last one but weren't, for God knows why. Most notably, Rightful Heir. That episode did not make the thing, even though it had aired. And it could have been there, but it was a reference to Kalis. It should have been in the last update, but it wasn't. I don't know why, but it will be. But also, large chunks of Enterprise, especially the last season, almost the entire fourth season, is going to make it in there. These are the voyages. I think if it's in, it'll be heavily asterisked, because there's so much wrong with that episode story-wise, but there also are some crucial data points in there about the founding of the Federation and a few things here and there. But story-wise, it's a hot mess. Even far and above the usual hot messes throughout Star Trek's history. That one stands out. Everybody, Berman and Braga have apologized for that one. Nobody on the cast on either side of the thing felt that was an appropriate story, because, like, Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis felt they were intruding, and it's like they really didn't feel good about this show's finale basically being turned into a next gen episode. They were hijacking these guys' finale they worked hard for, and the cast of Enterprise agreed. It's like, they're hijacking our show. What the hell is this all about? And that goes going to go back to one of the things that CBS could do, or whatever they called the thing after the merger, and they show Kurtzman the door at the front gate, is go with a 5th season of Enterprise. And first thing to do is completely wipe These Are the Voyages off the record. But it didn't happen that way, okay? Riker got his hands on a very bad, holodeck program with a lot of bad, data points. And we'll just want to address the fact that even within the story itself, we're supposed to be doing this during the events of the Pegasus. No way in hell. When did Riker ever have any time to go down to the holodeck and start working on his personal demons in there? Okay. Well, I am blaming Kurtzman, because it was his idea in the first place. Patrick Stewart does not have the greatest creative instincts in the world, as evidenced by the dune buggy scene in Nemesis. That was him. That was his idea for something for Picard to do. And when in the entire history of the show did Jean-Luc Picard show any inclinations for off-road racing? That was there because Patrick Stewart is interested in off-road racing. I think he's friends with Ivan Iron Man Stewart. Maybe there's a family connection there somewhere. But he wanted to just get into it and somehow convince, I don't know, that entire scene is a gold-plated violation of Prime Directive anyway, because they're running around in this doom buggy in full view of the natives. In fact, they're shooting back at the natives. And frankly, that they picked up on in orbit from the ship. Here's all the pieces, but there's an ion storm moving in. Then beam them up now, Geordi, before the storm gets here. That way, the whole thing is wrapped up before a 2-second line of dialogue, and next thing, then cut to the workshop and engineering where they're putting B4 back together. But Patrick Stewart wanted to turn Picard into an action hero. But no, I am fully blaming Kurtzman for this because he's in charge. He's in charge of the damn writing team, in charge of the show. He decides what's going on there. They're trying to sideline as much as they can with Discovery, but all that may be a moot case anyway because apparently there's no money for Discovery. They can say it's renewed all they want, and there's no money for it. Guess what? There ain't going to be a third season of Discovery. Because they'd be reduced to fulfilling my prophecy and joke is all they can afford to do is sit around the bridge eating pudding. They can't even show you an outside, any shots of the ship on the outside to be stock footage. And it won't even be dramatic lighting because that costs money. It'll just be flat lighting, probably the house light, the fluorescent lights they had during the when nothing's going on. I mean, Detmer, how's your pudding? Oh, fine. There's also the question, since Giorgio was on the ship when that went into the wormhole, how are they going to do a Section 31 ship, show with evil Philippa Georgiou if she's in the 30 whatever something century? It's like everything else with the show, they did not think this through. They didn't think through anything. Rob Burnett had a great point about Captain Lorca's tribble. I mean, let's have a tribble in there. And they didn't think of the implications of having a tribble. Especially a tribble sitting next to a bowl of fortune cookies. By the end of that first episode, he should have been knee deep in tribbles in that room. Okay? So what's he doing? Just, frying them, and then periodically, Or has that tribble been fixed? Who knows, But they, but they never address it. And they say, a tribble. And the little fanboys supposed to go, oh, squeeze a tribble. It's they forget we're not squeeze little fanboys. We think things through. We ask questions. It has always been the case. The example I keep going back to is they got letters back during the original run of the series of why the transporter platform flashed 3 times in this episode, twice in that one, and then 4 times in that one. We dig into this stuff. We're inquisitive. Well, they were talking short treks, but I think one, they did not get the money from Netflix they were wanting. Amazon is not paying as much as certainly not paying as much as they wanted Netflix to pay, and Patrick Stewart is going to get paid, even if that shows nothing but them sitting around a room eating pudding. Patrick Stewart's going to get a check. So guess what? All the money has gone to Patrick Stewart, and what's left for Picard. So Discovery's got nothing left. Even for short treks, they got nothing. And the thing is, they'll never announce this. They will never admit that that's not happening. What you need to do is watch the trades, and like in the case of the Georgiou thing, Michelle Yeoh has already signed on for other projects. When you start seeing this for other cast members, if they start, signing up, like if Doug Jones is, sign up for some, Guillermo del Toro movie that's going to take a couple of years to produce, then yeah, and if like Sonequa Martin Green's going back to the Walking Dead or whatever, oh, they killed her character, but but that sort of thing. You start seeing, the cast members being signed up for other projects. There's your telltale sign right there. Season 3 ain't happening. Because these people have to be available. And if they ain't there, that ain't happening. They ain't coming back. So that's, and that is how folks like Midnight's Edge can determine some of these things. And plus, they have, inside sources that come to them with information. Because, like I said, happy sets do not leak generally. Not to any real degree. The grumbling ones, they'll leak like a sieve, because you got a lot of people said that I cannot let this stand. I got to tell somebody what's going on in here. And that's when you start getting, even Next Generation, the first season, stuff came out. There was stuff in, rumors going out about, it's an insane set. I mean, people, and writers getting pissed off at Roddenberry being rewritten on stuff. And I think even the stuff about, Leonard Maislish, hey, burning, his lawyer. Some of the stuff did get out. I mean, went over to the full extent until, Shatner's biography, documentary. But there were grumblings back then. It was known it was not, perfect setting there. There were things going weird, but the show was coming out, and it was, it was mildly entertaining. A lot of people go, oh, no one liked Next Gen. No, there was plenty of very good episodes in the first season of Next Generation. Let's not, start going nuts here. Because that whole thing of, every show is sucked in the first season, Okay. The original series. First season, arguably, really, probably the best. See, there are very few clunkers in that first season, and not much in the second season. In fact, the first and you got to kind of ignore air date order for this sort of thing, because you got to look, what was the first thing they did, regular production, was the Corbomite maneuver. And I rank that as one of the best Star Trek episodes of the entire franchise. And that was the first one right off the block. And there's a lot, mostly pretty good. They don't really hit a major stumbling block. I mean, Miri has got some, problems conceptually, but you'd go with it because everyone's doing a good job. And they don't really hit a real pothole until the alternative factor. That's the one. That's really the first one that really falls apart. And there were mitigating circumstances, like John Drew Barrymore bailing at the last second. Robert Brown came on. It was literally, we got a gig for you in L.A. on the Star Trek show. Get on a plane out here. And he flew out Friday, got on the set Monday. Here's your script. So, and there was just a lot of stuff that was kind of hapdashing, So that one I don't fault it too much for. And even then, it's still, everyone's acting their heart out, and there's enough conviction there that you think there's something going on here that means something. It's not until kind of in retrospect, like, that was stupid. I mean, Spock's brain gets a lot of flack, but there are the other ones that are worse than Spock's brain. Like, Spock's brain gets all the attention because it's such a cheesy B-movie concept. But the alternative factor and the children shall lead, those ones stunk up the place. And really, the old story about low ratings really did not become true until really the third season. It was clear the rot had set in, and everyone's looking for the exit. That's when the fans really started abandoning it, because when the quality started slipping visibly, and it's like, okay, that's it. But let's see. That was a tangent that went somewhere. I don't know. What do we got here? The last show. Last show of which one? Well, if we're talking Turnabout Intruder. It probably didn't help. The fact that they're being charged arm, leg, and left nut for this disaster of a show, and being named as a co-defendant in a lawsuit, that certainly did not help. Lost the signal on my tablet here. At least something like that. But yeah, that probably didn't help your relations with CBS at all. But there's a lot of, just... Whew. I think you really just chop it up to doing Viacom and CBS, that they haven't really been the best stewards for Star Trek. Because, back when it was just Paramount running the thing, and this is kind of getting a little self-serving on the fan side, but they pretty much let the fans do what they wanted for the most part. As long as you didn't make exorbitant amounts of money on their IP, they really didn't really mess around with it much. That's why the garage kits, people cranking out bumper stickers in spare time. But most if you're only making like 10 cents on a model, they're not going to come after. They wouldn't come after you mostly, and they were like very small volume. It wouldn't affect anything. And granted, back then the fan films were very slapdash, literally cardboard sets, type of thing. It was when Viacom took over the thing. That's when the lawyers started to perk up, and also I think it's also probably when the license fees shot up to the stratosphere. Because once upon a time, to get a license to produce a Star Trek thing was dirt cheap. Yeah, where are we at here? Okay, syndication. Yes, that actually took a little bit of a circuitous route, because they were doing reruns really right after the show ended in '69. They were marketing it, but they're not really that energetic about it, because Paramount thought they had a disaster on their hands, so they're just trying to bury it. And it really wasn't until, because I remember little kid, being able to catch an occasional rerun here and there, but it wasn't really scheduled anyway. It was like occasionally I'd see I'd come across one while channel surfing on like Saturday on, I'm thinking Channel 9 in Denver. Back then was the ABC station, but it was like, Saturday afternoon after the cartoons and even after American Bandstand, just they're throwing whatever the hell they got. And somehow they got a hold of it for a while. And, I just think they remember coming across Whom Gods Destroy on that one. Mainly the scene where Spock turns into Garth, But I know the big push was, in the Kaiser Broadcasting thing, because the guy in charge of it was a big Star Trek fan. And it was a sci-fi fan in junk, because he had missed out on getting the rights to the Twilight Zone. So he very much wanted to own Star Trek. And that's when, and he had a better plan to syndicate this thing. And do it in the afternoons. Yeah. 3 or 4 in the afternoon, scheduled, around the talk shows and before the, the evening, the local news. And some stations would do it prime time, and they were beating network competition. Remember, this is back also when there's still a lot of independent stations out there. Yeah. Whatever. For the purposes of this discussion, Star Trek Picard, that it takes place in, it's the Prime Universe, but the Prime Universe is where JJ Trek and Discovery take place. It is not canon. It is not the canon universe. And you don't even need to go, frankly, to the conspiracy theory area of Secret Hideout being a front for well, it's not really lost. It's just a different cut of the same episode. But the way they put together Discovery, between the different sets and the ships and the uniform designs. There is no way with a straight face anybody can reconcile that, because it's not just, you can't just say pre-TOS. You are putting that entire show between two episodes, specifically The Cage and Where No Man Has Gone Before. And there is no way you're going to get from point A to point B with this mess in the middle and not look like a raving moron trying to reconcile the two. So, I don't care that they use Cage footage in that one episode of Discovery. All they did was highlight the differences. They didn't reconcile a damn thing. So, sorry, Katwalski, no one else, but no, it's not canon, and it is by their own design, rather, whether intentional or not. The way they put the show together, they invalidated themselves from canon. Yeah, Prime is like, it is strictly, it's the JJ trick, and well, these JJs had the decency to at least acknowledge it's an alternate timeline in there. So anything off, it's an alternate timeline. But Discovery's trying to have it both ways. It's like, no, sorry, it doesn't work that way. And the more they doubled down on it, the more they said, nope, sorry. Well, Discovery overshot the Picard show by about another 750 years, roughly 850 years. Although they're already placing bets that Mikey Spock's going to show up in her little Iron Man suit and give Picard the reason to go back into Starfleet and go get him, Jean-Luc. Thank you, Mikey Spock, for instilling me in my confidence. I never should have lost in the first place. Yeah, they could have, seriously, and I think I forget who, where it was or so, but when they first, Discovery first rolling out, and they said the network is kind of underestimated what kind of appeal there is for a kind of retro styled series. They could have, if they really wanted to, like just, as I say, set up your cameras in Kingsland, send your cast there. You got all the sets right there. Just redress them slightly to the Cage aesthetic, and there you go. There's your set. Go for it. And it would have worked. I think if the scripts are there, because all these idiots don't. It's not the special effects and the show and the zap guns or anything. It is the scripts. If the story's solid, the fans will buy it. Okay. Because while, contrary to popular belief, Star Trek was not a cheap show. In fact, it was probably if not the most expensive show on television at the time. They were spending the equivalent of today's dollars of about $1 million an episode, which is what a typical Star Trek show runs. About $1 million an episode. And it's mainly because they can't get this stuff off the rack. All right, you can't just go out to IKEA and come back with a 23rd century, table. You got to build it and yourself, and that costs. Okay, I'm not entirely up on the Typhon Pact and what all ensued in that, but that's also novels. So, and that's the kind of thing of why Roddenberry said the books are not canon. In fact, that's usually what didn't refer to as the books. It was referred to as those damn books. But well, yeah, there's an entire season worth of Phase 2 scripts that they've used like 2 or 3 of them through Next Gen, and a couple of them got used in Colley's show until again CBS poked their nose in because technically they own those scripts because they're part of this property. Yeah, it's the thing about no one shall speak of Discovery, and then basically so that so shall it be written, so shall it be done. What's going to keep Harry Mudd from talking, or the Klingons, or anybody else they've come across that knows about that ship and what it can do? It's like, it doesn't work. You can't just do an edict. What are you going to do? Hunt down everybody who mentions a word, wonders about what happened to their family member on Discovery, and you're going to just start killing people left and right here? No, they don't think. Again, they didn't think it through. Kurtzman think this resolved everything. It resolved nothing. And it opened up more problems than it did before. And at the end of the day, you're still stuck with the wrong ship, in case of the Enterprise, the wrong uniforms, and just too much stuff. You didn't resolve a damn thing, Alec. Come on. The Maquis? No, that wasn't Phase 2. That was no. That was a creation from DS9 in order to provide it was part of development of Voyager, because they wanted these rebel fighters involved, and that was so they developed the Cardassian Federation ruffle over the disputed territory as a part of the lead-in to provide an adversarial thing on the Voyager crew, because it still had this thing of Starfleet people don't fight. They're beyond that sort of thing. They're beyond these little petty jealousies. Whereas if you introduce people who are not necessarily Starfleet, then yeah, you can let them fight all you want. Well, there is a book, Star Trek Phase 2, The Lost Trek, I think it's called, and goes in about the whole thing of developing the Phase 2 story series. And I think they make a very good point that if Phase 2 had gone forward, there's a very good chance that all we call Star Trek today would not have happened. Because a big driving force in keeping Star Trek going was the feeling that unfinished business. Because the show was canceled for 3 years, so you got the frustration that we didn't see the rest of the mission. Actually, Phase 2 uniforms really were original series uniforms, because that's what they were going to do with Phase 2, is just bring out the old uniform. Tell them the actual, not just recreation, but the actual uniforms from the original show, with some variations. But for the large part, they were bringing up original series uniforms. They were going to use them. The phasers for Phase 2 were still very much recognizable as a phaser. There's a few differences here and there, a few details changed, but mostly it's the same exact weapon. The Maquis, I think they made, because it was around the same time. DS9 and Next Gen were running at the same time. So they did introduce the whole thing of the disputed territory, the Cardassians and these colonists. The Maquis themselves don't get mentioned until DS9. Okay, Phase 2 uniforms. Okay, yeah, some of them, the variants that they worked up for Phase 2. That specifically is in Colley's things, because he's got a lot of those uniforms, because he worked for Bill Tice. He was an intern on Next Gen, so he got a lot of good stuff, including Tice's notes and some fabric samples, and somehow the original, copy of the original blueprints for the sets. What the hell the wardrobe guy was doing with the sets for the bridge and the sets, I don't know, but somehow he got his hands on them, and he passed them on to Colley. Well, I wouldn't talk about, the animated series really worked as a fourth season, because there's only 22 episodes. Because there was like 16 first season and 6 in the second season. So that's not enough to carry for 2 years. So that really works as just the fourth season. Yeah, Maquis. I didn't say Marquis. I said Maquis. Yeah. Yeah, getting back to Harry Mudd, it's not just, how do you know? He specifically targeted that ship for him. He was going to sell it to the Klingons, remember? In his old experience of killing Lorca 57 times or whatever it was. 52, I don't know. It's ridiculous. They're going through time loops. Now, the way I see it, if I could wave a magic wand and declare this, law of the land. And in fact, the original animated series is canon. As far as CBS is concerned, it is canon. They made overt references to it during the Enterprise, especially, and even some in DS9. There's a thing where Kura is talking about his ship, the Klothos. That is from Time Trap. That was his ship. And Garrick talking about, when he was posing as a gardener on Romulus, he was, Zadoan, orchids, or Dojan orchids, and then that was Eric's race, Doan. Yeah. So yeah, they worked it, and it's around. You can tell that. Back it up a little bit. Everyone wants to cite this thing about how Roddenberry decanonized the animated series. Roddenberry would tell different people different things depending on what he felt they needed to hear in order to get the job done and leave him alone for the most part. And to Richard Arnold, because the most likely truth is that Filmation was in the process of shutting down, or at least scaling back to and they had a whole lot of licensed properties that they did cartoons for. One of them, Star Trek being one of them, but they also had, like, the Lone Ranger, and they had a Gilligan's Island cartoon at one point, and the stuff like that. And so the process of divesting themselves of these properties. And keep in mind that Paramount did not produce the animated series in any way, shape, or form. They only distributed it through Paramount Television. All the production was Filmation. So really, it was a Filmation show that Paramount had no claim over for the most part, or at least not full claim. And since studio execs don't like spending money they don't have to, there was a big thing, and there's just, for convenience sake, until they could work out the legal issues, an animated series was put on the shelf, and basically, no, don't touch it. You can't, we can't reference that anymore. And probably either someone filled in the blanks, or Roddenberry may have just flat out lied to someone and said, no, I don't like it anymore. So no, I'm not really approving of the show anymore. So, because it'd take longer to explain what's going on. The other people didn't need to know necessarily what's going on, especially considering that, it could affect the negotiators. It was common knowledge of what was going on. So it was easier just to say, it's not canon anymore. Because Roddenberry did not like being pinned down on anything. And I imagine it probably didn't really help his ego much that there was an aspect of Star Trek that he did not have any control over at this point. Paramount had no claim over. And if they had referenced anything on animated series, I mean, they could, there are certain parts of it, like Spock and his childhood, but if they ever did anything about him going back in time to save himself, or anything, story-specific thing, whoever, Filmation probably got in a check, and the original writer would have gotten a check, and then that's extra money they don't want to spend. It's simpler, put it on the shelf until we can work out the terms, and then when we get full ownership of it, then we can start mining for story ideas. And that's what happened. After when they got the thing around 92 or so, because that's when the DVD set came out. And the big fat hint on that is notice that Filmation was doing a lot of DVD sets of their old shows. And check them out sometime. And when they came out, they're under the Filmation label. They had the logo, Filmation present. The animated series doesn't do that. That is CBS Home Video. The same as every other, DVD set came out around that time. It was CBS Home Video. They're no indistinguishable from any other CBS thing. Which makes it, in the fold. It is canon. In fact, they even have one of the extras is animated series canon, and they're going through it. And David Gerald, something is, of course, it is produced. You got Gene Roddenberry and Dorothy Fontana producing it. You got almost the entire cast doing their parts in the show. It is not dumbed down. A lot of the original series writers doing stories. You had. Some of them were scripts that were planned for possibly the fourth season. So, it is canon. But I'm going to keep beating that drum until I stop hearing about, but Roddenberry is that. No, Roddenberry, unfortunately, wasn't alive at the time they finally got it back, so he could officially declare it canon again. And I think another big part of it is Richard Arnold's got a burr up his ass about the animated series. So that's what he wholeheartedly jumped in. Nope, it's gone. It didn't do with that stupid cartoon anymore. So yeah. And I've heard a few things. There's things up here. Apparently, it was a discussion that he was having with Peter David, as Peter David was also writing for the DC, the comic books at the time, in addition to novels, and Richard Arnold apparently supposedly actually said that they should be more like the old Gold Key comics. I would have laughed in his face, and I've had pretty good dealings with Richard Arnold through the years, by letters. But if he had said that, I would have laughed in his face if he said that. Those Gold Key comics, as much affection as we may have for them, because the fact that it was the only comic books available of Star Trek, those stories were they bore virtually no resemblance whatsoever to actual Star Trek. Okay. Especially the early ones, where it's clear that the artists and the writers in question have not seen the show. All they were provided with was some rough notes and some pictures of the cast. That is it. It's like, I mean, it's fun to look through, but it's like, that's not a reliable gauge of anything. I pity anyone who's at their first experience of Star Trek, or those Gold Key comics. They can't even draw the ship consistently from frame to frame half the time. But yeah, once they got their firm grip, okay, it is now fully in the control of their Paramount, or CBS. Now we can start, and then now it's there. It's in. You got a lot of references in Enterprise, especially through to Paul, talking about the Forge and the Coswan, I think, ritual. But all right. Yeah, still having problems with the charging thing. All right. Yeah. Well, Gold Key, they were the blame Gold Key. They were doing that was the go-to place for comic books about TV shows at the time. So they were treating Star Trek any different than they did the Roy Rogers show. They even had an Ozzie and Harriet, cartoon comic books. Yeah. Orville, that is your true successor right there to Star Trek, because in one, you got a lot of Star Trek writers working there. Brandon Braga, and I think Goodman's also one of the producers on there. But I think a big thing is because the Orville was Seth MacFarlane's pitch as a Star Trek show, which was rejected in favor of Discovery. I know that he even called the ship Orville. I don't know about the Invaders. I don't know. That's a Quinn Martin show, if I recall. But a few years ago, there was an interview blur. It was around maybe 2010 or so. It wasn't long after the JJ thing, and they interviewed Seth MacFarlane on the Hollywood Reporter about what he wants to do after Family Guy, and he said he wants to do Star Trek. And the comments they made about really getting back to a good science fiction storyline and getting and really really go for that intelligent, thoughtful. Like, yes, please give him the keys of the kingdom here. Let him in charge. This guy knows what he's talking about. Okay, what's sad there? I didn't quite catch it because this thing has gone crapped up on over here. The thing will not say consistently online here, so. Yes, Ensign Rivers. Matter of fact, he had a bit of a recurring part. But contrast that when Discovery was announced to have a third season, it's like, yeah, whatever, But when the Orville was announced to have the third season, yes, finally. We've been pleading and begging, pleading. It's like they were about to get deluged in pickle jars if we did not bring that show back. Okay, this thing would finally connect. I could catch up with the chat here because the thing is, it shows up on the screen briefly on the phone here, but I can't really see it that well from this distance. But I think basically the Orville was like, I think really it wouldn't take much to turn the Orville into a Star Trek show. Well, rejected by CBS was Fox's gain, and you can tell Fox is proud of the show because first season was just the Orville, second season the opening credits Fox presents the Orville, and I'm sure it is delighting the executives at Fox, even after Disney takeover. But they can stick it to CBS and say, "Hey, our show is drawing like $6 million viewers a week. What are you guys doing?" They won't release those numbers because those numbers are crap. But I got lost. Where was I going? Okay. But yeah, it wouldn't take much to turn the Orville into a Star Trek show. And they post them because the timeline is such, it's around the same time. And I'd say a few years, like within 10 years past the point where they're setting Picard. It's 25th century, but early 25th century. All you'd have to do is change the uniforms slightly, maybe and keep just put a Starfleet comm badge on them. The biggest change you might have to do is the ship design, and really just lose the rings and somehow work nacelles on there. Stuart, if you're still there, we can get Samuel to work on that. That'd be fun. But just change, Planetary Union to Federation, and make it a Starfleet instead of Union ship, a Starfleet ship, and even keep the same aliens. There's no reason why you still couldn't have Mocklins and Yaphet in there, and then have working on a couple of Vulcans and Andorian. It's like we don't have to be limited to the same stupid aliens every damn show. You can just broaden it out. You don't need to make Bortus into a Klingon. You can stay a Mocklin and have all those same issues. In fact, that's part of the appeal of the show, is you can deal with issues on there, not pounding into your head type of thing. Well, that's what I'm saying. Orville could be that post-Voyager show. Well, it's post-Nemesis, because and you really would have to do very small changes. And you can almost, I can almost see this really as kind of an alternate time, one of the alternate timelines. Since everyone's suddenly become enamored of multiple timelines in Star Trek, let's make Orville one of those alternate timelines. Just the change was such was instead of Starfleet, you got whatever the hell they call the fleet in there. Instead of the Federation, they're from Planetary Union. But you could easily make a lot of the same stuff, just a slight change. And to realign it all, just have a special guest appearance by John Delancey. Oh, this is not right at all. And then everyone's in proper Starfleet attire. Yeah. That would be fun, seeing Worf and Bortus together in the same episode. Trying to outscowl each other, basically. What do you want to do, Kat? Let's see, where are we at on the power on the phone here so far? Phone's hanging in at 8% because the temperature set just not. Okay, this is going to go disorienting for a minute. I got to try something here. But yeah, I could definitely see a crossover. Well, that's one thing. I think it was a Comic-Con. Do not adjust your sets. I'm trying to do something so I can vent some heat on this thing, so it's not going to overheat and it'll start charging again. All right. Okay, there we are. All right, yeah. Well, Tony Todd showed up as a Mocklin, so. So Dawn, yeah, Marina Stewart already the guest appearance here as a teacher. I think it'd be a hoot to have Patrick Stewart show up. Well, I think also probably why they rushed the Picard show into production. Yeah, there's a lot of extras. I haven't watched a lot of them on there, but I got a hands on the Orville set. But I think a big part, because they know him, Seth MacFarlane and Patrick Stewart they work together. They're friends. So if they didn't get this, Picard show up and going pretty quick, Seth was going to snatch up Patrick Stewart and have him shoot Admiral or something and give him a recurring part, and they would lose that shot. So I think that had to be an element in getting the show running, and why they started, because none of the other next gen casts have been asked even to be in the show, whereas they are starting to show up on Orville. Because one thing Seth likes to do is he likes to, he's got friends all over Hollywood. And don't forget, the entire next gen cast has been on Family Guy. Just that one episode where Stewie, builds a transporter and beams everybody up. He kills off Denise Crosby really quickly, but everyone, he's had the entire cast was in that episode, and he had most of the cast of the original series and the episode of Futurama. Well, that was Matt Groening. Never mind, scratch that. But I think he's also, he's friends with Shatner. I'm picturing a nice situation where you can probably make, do a few comments about stuff in fan culture right now going weird, is have Vic Mignogna guest star as a kind of a renegade Star Union captain. And that it's not as weird as it may sound, because Mignogna does have, actual on-screen, acting credits. He is a professional actor. That's how he got, the other actors to show up for Continues. But have him, get in there and... Well, actually, I'm getting to that because as Vic is, this crazy Union captain going off the rails, and they're trying to get in control, have his dad, the Admiral, played by William Shatner, show up and really lay the smackdown on there. One of the issues nowadays, and we got to face facts, it's been too damn long, is the original series cast is getting up there. I mean, Nichelle Nichols is on a farewell tour, convention-wise, and by all rights, even that is probably pushing it, because she's been diagnosed with dementia. She's in a wheelchair nowadays. I mean, gone are the days where walk down the hallway at StarCon Denver, and she's sitting on the floor, with a circle of fans, eating hot dogs. That really happened, and really, because of the main big, because we've already lost D. Kelly, lost Jimmy Doohan, lost Leonard Nimoy, Grace Lee Wendy's, Majel Barrett, there are only a few left, and like I said, Nichelle, God bless her, this is gonna be her last hurrah before she hangs it up and calls it a career. George Takei is getting too damn militant for my blood, frankly. He's a very charming guest, but it's like, please, okay? I'm not going to see any more of his political blather on. I'm about ready to block him on Twitter just because it's getting annoying. Walter Koenig is always fun, but he's getting up there too. Because, Chekhov was only in his 20s. Walter Koenig was not in his 20s in that show. He was just a few years younger than Shatner, really. I think he was like 30 or something, And that's kind of reason he's proudly going around bald-headed. He's not even wearing the toque anymore. I think Disney, I think, is probably going to leave Fox TV alone for the most part. In fact, they really are not going to do much, I think, different with Fox, because they're going to have Fox available. It's like Touchdown was for a while. That's their label to put out stuff that's not necessarily Disney material. They use that for the R, and then the PG-13 stuff that would not fly very well with the Walt Disney Presents thing over the top. And that's actually been a bit of a problem with Disney for years anyway, because one of the guys said Disney's the only name brand studio where if they put out a clunker, it's like Disney gets flack for it. Whereas if Paramount or Universal put out a clunker, nobody blames Paramount or Universal for being a bad movie. Disney did get blamed for that sort of thing. And that's why they created Touchdown in the first place, and they will pretty much. The theory, they'll pretty much let Fox go the same way it's going there. They'll hopefully have a better record of picking projects. But, in the Fox TV thing, it's like, Orville's working. It doesn't need, tweaking on there. And Seth is the big cash cow. That's the way he managed to get this thing rammed through in the first place, because he's made Fox a lot of money with Family Guy and American Dad. So he's got the clout in there to get his passion projects, and one of them is doing Star Trek. I mean, Okay. That being said, I think the Alien franchise is played out. I would just put that one to bed for the foreseeable future. I don't know. I think their guns have a stun setting, don't they? Oh, never seen them use on stuff, but I think they got a stun setting. I think I'm sure they got a stun. But yeah, I put Alien and Predator back on the shelf for a while, because the latest versions of those did not work. And sorry, Ridley, but nobody cares where the aliens came from. They just want to see them die. Okay? It's like, I don't know why when they decided to do Alien vs. Predator, they didn't do it in the comics, where you got the Marines going out to try and just go and wipe these things out, and they get caught in the crossfire because the Predators are going hunting. Yeah. There was your story right there. Predators hunting aliens, and colonial Marines caught in the middle. Why they didn't go with that, I don't know. Blade Runner, I have it on pretty good authority that because what Razor Fist is one of the channels of the Rageaholic is the channel. He wrote his college dissertation on Blade Runner. Nobody holds a candle to him as far as Blade Runner goes, and he's like, no, Blade Runner 2049, 49. It's like, no, that's not a good. Why is someone everyone is so gaga about this movie? It's like it's beyond him, because it barely does not live up to the original Blade Runner. And I'm not really inclined to dispute him. So let's see, get this thing to wake up. I'll leave it. But I think, and also in retrospect, you kind of wonder, what was the big deal with this movie in the first place? There, I think it was definitely different at the time it came out. It didn't necessarily age that well. So that one is probably best, left on the side as a product of its time, and move on from there. Because I kind of side with the Harrison Ford's one thing, that Red Decker was not a replicant. That just kind of cheapens things when you go that route. Coolio? Why would you want Coolio anyway? Coolio even still have a career? Okay. Well, yeah. Let's see. Shatner would probably incorporate the one. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. The original Logan's Run. The movie was interesting. It was definitely a product of the time. Welcome in, Daniel. You're late. The original novel Logan's Run is very different from what. In fact, they didn't have gas. The Sandmen carried 6-shooters, and each bullet was a different thing. It was kind of like almost like Judge Dredd guns, where you can just different bullets to different things. You can do stun, heat seekers, whatever. And the stuff that Logan and Jessica went through is very different. Yeah. Oh boy. All right, Drew. End the thing. Let's see if I can get this thing to back it up and come back on this. Because I'm sure it's not very, a little disconcerting me constantly leaving in on the screen there, acting like it's some cheap 3D movie. Here, want the banana? There we go. Let's try that now. All right, so we got 10 people. 10 people deserve a show, damn it. What? It is not that hot in here, Cat. Cat the drama queen. All right. What I've heard, possibly spoilers of episode 9, it's gonna be, let's just say, typical JJ wrapping up a series in thoroughly disgusting, underwhelming, fashion that results in the entire experience being a waste of time. That's a case of, we hope to God that these spoiler warnings are completely wrong. Because, oh God. I won't go into it. If you really want to go, the Doomcock's got a video on it where he goes into what he's been told of the general plot of episode 9. If they go that route, they will do possibly a mortal damage to the I've seen stuff about Solo. But if they do what we've been hearing about what they're doing to episode 9, it's like they could very well possibly kill the franchise, or at least do a major blow. It's going to be a case of hope to hell the Mandalorian is as kick-ass as it looks, because it may very well fall to Dave Filoni to resurrect this thing in a few years. And also, don't be surprised if they decide to do a Highlander 2 maneuver and just totally invalidate episodes 7, 8, 9. And we're going to start another, sequence, another set of trilogies somewhere. Well, that was an idea. It's like splitting, episode 9 into 2 parts, so you have enough time to actually properly retcon out Last Jedi. Rogue One was probably the best of the Disney Star Wars movies, because they had to actually fit within the original movie somewhere. Well, Kathleen Kennedy has got a much better contract than Rian Johnson has. Rian Johnson's just a writer, and Rian Johnson has been, squabbling with the fans, which is never a good thing. You don't argue with your customer base. And guess what, Ryan? You are not that good a writer. You've admitted you're not that good a writer, so why the hell are you fighting? Admit you fucked up. Yeah, okay, I gotta crack this a bit. So get some air going here. But we'll see about that, because the word is they're still going to be wrapping things up with episode 9. And if they're going to, go to an episode 10 to really wrap things up, they better announce it pretty soon. Well, Rogue One, Rogue One's basically a heist movie, because you're telling a story about the rebel spies, stole the plants. Well, this is how it happened, Well, they said, if they're going to put an episode title, it'd be episode 3.75. That's about right where, just before, and leads right straight into episode 4. All right. Good night, Stephen Klein. Yes, definitely get that Geloja before you go to bed. It could be very embarrassing if you don't do it. If you don't get it first. Look at the camera. See? Okay, Star Wars Rogue 2. Okay, I remind you that everybody died in Rogue One. It's kind of like, trying to do a sequel to Return of the King. The story's over. No, but what if it isn't? No, that's not a good response. Okay, one thing with here's my theory regarding Dave Filoni. I think the fact that they got the Mandalorian going, that is his baby, him and Jon Favreau. They brought back Clone Wars. I think what's happening on that front is, yes, they're acknowledging in their own way. Kathy's not worked out very well. Ryan Johnson definitely hasn't worked out, but they can't, because of contracts, they can't just out now show them the door. A lot of stuff's been going. It's like Kennedy's only going to be there a couple of years. That's not enough to really do much more damage. It's like let her fill out whatever. And I think not really, because there was a very large fireball at the end there. Because remember, the Death Star is firing on the planet when it happened. So, but I think they are grooming Dave Filoni to take over, and they're giving Kathleen Kennedy enough time to wrap things up and probably maybe bring him along. If she does stick around past that, I think it's gonna be she will handle the business end of it, because that's really what she did anyway. She was never the creative producer into these projects. She was like, the money person, make sure, all the T's are dotted and the I's crossed and whatever. And it was other people who did the scripts and the writing stuff. And that's really where she should stay, And then Dave Filoni comes in and he does the creative bit. Because he did all those years with Clone Wars, working with George Lucas. So he knows the stuff. And he knows where the lines are. And of course, he can certainly, call George. Hey, George, what do you think about this? Oh, I thank you very much. They got a lot of answers, frankly, about where we see things in The Force Awakens. It's like, what happened to the Republic? Where did this First Order nonsense come from? Because they certainly got all the firepower and the thing of the Empire. It's like, where these guys get off? The case of I'm getting really sick and tired of JJ and his mystery boxes. And then especially when it's like he doesn't bother to, reveal the mystery in the mystery box in such a way. It's like, why is this happening? For the most part, it's like, you don't just, you don't raise the question if you're not going to answer it, especially in short order. Because one thing I'd like to put a rule is don't count on your sequel. Now, normally it's a case of, don't count, as in nobody's promising you a sequel yet, Sparky. Make this movie work first. Well, and Kathleen Kennedy's not gone for another few years there, because that's where her contract is. But in this case, it's like, don't count on the sequel, as in don't count that the guy coming behind you is going to do a decent job, because somebody kind of didn't give Ryan Johnson the good briefing on this is the middle chapter in a trilogy, right? It's all going to kind of make sense. That's why we gave you this, rough outline that we worked up for starting this. And what to do, you consider what Luke did with the lightsaber, just everything. That's what Johnson did with the overall plan of the trilogy that they worked up when they were doing Force Awakens and then planning the rest of it out. He just, no, fuck you, I'm doing my own thing. Hence why we got this dumpster fire of the franchise right now, because he totally fucked everything up. Besides the fact that it's a stupid movie, the ramifications are such that he fucked over the Force Awakens, because now you can't go back and watch that without knowing what comes afterwards. And it just ruins the experience on that front. Okay, James Gunn was a case of that was, I think in a way it's kind of the first turning sense that this kind of SJW crucify you for something you said 50 years ago is starting to come to an end. They just had to play the game a little bit so they didn't burn the studio down, but it's like, no, and also I noticed that I think Dave Bautista was the loudest, because I don't think anyone bothered to give him the memo yet, but the furor did kind of die down rather quickly. Now, I think it was once they let it be known, don't worry, he's not really fired. We'll bring him back later when things quiet down. Just come on. They may have let Dave Batista go on a little longer just to make it look good. But I think eventually it's like, don't worry, Dave, come here. James will be back, but we can't say anything right now because the usual suspects will burn us alive. So just kick back. You're fine. Okay, Filoni. It's like, because one of the things that was kind of brought up with one of the celebrations a few years ago is whatever happened to Ahsoka. And actually Epstein was out there, and they kind of went through what the plans were, and they actually had her crying there a bit because there's some good stuff. Because basically she was booted out of the order, but then she got command of her own little squad of clone troopers to go around doing things. And now with the new season of Clone Wars, we'll get to see it. All right. A little something from Gorcy. Let me just pull the cover off that one. Hold on. Let me look at that again here. I thought I uncovered that.